Hello everyone, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Thank you for joining me in my little corner of the internet where we talk all things planners, fountain pens, and fountain pen inks. Today I will be swatching all of my Sailor inks, and I will tell you right now, this is actually the second take that I'm doing because as you're going to see in this clip that I'm going to put here, I spilled some of Sailor Yurameku Kitsune Biori and it's all over my hand. So I have to do this all over again, but that's okay. So I'll be swatching in my Hobonichi A5 notebook with 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. I'll be doing the swatches with my Browse ornament nib. This is the 3mm size on the Zodiac Pen Company nib holder. And this is the Kakimori stainless steel nib on the River City Pen Co. nib holder. Both are listed in my description below. So let's get started. First things first, it is Sailor Ink Studio 273. I really shouldn't film videos after I finished a full day of work, but it seems to be the only time that I have. But I love this ink. I think I tried this from an ink sample vial. And then immediately, because as you can see, it's a beautiful dusty pink, I had to have it. Like, isn't that lovely? And it dries with such beautiful shading. And I've used this in a couple of pens and it's not dry at all, has great flow, and I really enjoy writing with it. So that's Sailor Ink Studio 273. Another great one is Sailor Ink Studio 280. I'm probably going to say Sailor for every ink that I put out here, but I promise I won't write down Sailor for every single one. I think I drove somebody nuts when I did my diamine video and they're like, why did you have to write diamine for every single one? I'm like, because it's habit. Sorry. I love this one because it reminds me of Pilot Iroshizuku Inaho. A little bit more on the green side here, but it dries beautifully. There's a little bit of pink, a little bit of brown, a little green, and I will show you once it's all dried here. So that's Sailor Ink Studio 280. Next we have one of my favorites. This is Sailor Yurameku Kitsune Biori, and just letting you know, this is actually my second bottle of this. The first one I had actually given quite a bit away as samples to friends who wanted to try it, and then realized that I loved it so much myself that I needed to buy a second bottle. And I even bought one before the other one was fully out. Oh, there's still a bit of ink on the side of that, which I probably got on my finger. So this one is Sailor Yurameku Kitsune Biori. This goes down kind of a grayish brown, but dries to a really, really beautiful shade. Again, these look so beautiful when they're dried. It's hard to show them off when they're wet, but don't worry, I will show you. Next we have Sailor Shikiori Hara Hara. I really like this purple. I had tried it once in a sample, loved it, and had to buy a bottle. I'm a big fan of this type of purple. It's kind of a grayish, more muted purple. And there's just something about it. There's little hints of pink in there too. Just stunning. And the thing I love about Sailors is that, like, most of the ones that I've tried have really great shading properties, but also I haven't had too many issues with the flow. So this is Sailor Shikiori Hara Hara. And you can see some of the undertones of pink in that. Really stunning. Now we have some from my Monyo collection. So these first 6 inks are bottles that I actually own. The first is, or sorry, I have bottles of all of these. There's 6 bottles that I own and the rest are samples. So this one is Sailor Monyo Shirakashi. This actually came with the pen that I purchased, and I forget the pen now. It was the Pro Gear Slim Monyo Nuts, yes. And I kept the ink, but I sold the pen because the Pro Gear Slim is just that bit too small for me. but I love this green. On the outside of the bottle, it looks like it's supposed to be brown, but wait until that dries a little bit more. So this is Sailor Manyo Shirakashi. And I'm going to close the bottle, put the lid on the bottle before I show you. But it looks a little bit more brown on the label, but it's definitely this green. Still pretty. Then the last of my bottles is Sailor Manyo Kuri. I love this one so, so much. And I had tried a sample, and immediately after inking that sample up, I bought this bottle. Look at this. It goes down very unexpectedly light, but once it dries, is it purple? Is it beige? Is it brown? Yes, the swatch is going to look a little bit different than the writing sample. You're going to get a lot more complexity in the swatch than you would in the writing sample, but it's still such a fun ink to use. So this is Manyo Kuri. Gorgeous. Next I have Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. I used to have a bottle of this. I no longer have a bottle. I have basically just this tiny sample left, and it's currently inked actually in my Pilot Kakuno. It's a lovely purpley pink. Tempted to buy another bottle of this, but I really don't need to buy any more inks right now. But I'm literally on the last drops of this ink. So I'm going to write with my Pilot Kakuno for this one. This is Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. Oh, such a pretty pink. Gorgeous. Next sample is Sailor Manyo Fuji. This is actually currently inked in my is that the Hachimonjiya Juyo Amethyst. Beautiful purple, but also I find that the Manyo inks have just such a great shading. Actually, all of the Sailors that I've tried have great shading properties. Sailor does shading inks really, really well. And this is a purple that really matches that, but I'm actually not going to use that because it's currently inked in my pen, so I'll write with my pen. So this has a fine nib. So this is Sailor Manyo Fuji. I love that so much. I love the way that that's drying. You can see the pinks in there, a little bit of blue too. Gorgeous combination. And I'm running out of adjectives for gorgeous and lovely and beautiful and stunning. I need more. I now have Sailor Ink Studio 150. This one was something that I got at a fountain pen meetup a little while ago, and I had this inked in a pen, I think it was last month, and this is a lovely purple. I feel like it has a little bit more pink than Fuji, and you'll see that in the way that that dries. This one definitely matches with this nib holder a little bit more. So this is Sailor Ink Studio 150. Again, doesn't seem to see as much of it in the writing sample, but it's still a beautiful shading ink otherwise. We then have Sailor Manyo Azuki. I had purchased this from PenChalet and really, really liked this pink. It's one of those dusty pinks that I can't get away from. Look at that. I really prefer dusty pinks, and I know that some are a little bit less legible than others. This one's actually not too bad. This is Manyo Azuki, and the flow in these is really good. Even for a lighter ink like that, it's still legible, still flows well. If you're looking for a dusty pink, that one is an excellent one, Manyo Azuki. We now have Sailor Manyo Ayame. I inked this up last month and loved it so much. We didn't know whether it was purple or green. What would it dry as? And that's something that I wouldn't have liked as much before, but now I'm like, I love the mystery that's kind of tied to this ink. It kind of looks blue, it kind of looks green, but then it dries to a little bit of a purple. So you never know what you're gonna get. It's like thinking of that quote from Forrest Gump, you know, life is like a box of chocolates. But Manyo Ayame is such a fun surprise of an ink. Really tempted to get a bottle of this one. But look, you can already see how there's a little bit of purple in that swatch. Amazing. And then we have Sailor Manyo Haha. I used to have a bottle of this ages ago, and the original bottle that I had was so light. But this one I got from a fountain pen meetup, and I'm wondering, because they've had it for so long, is it possible that this may have evaporated a little bit? But it does look really light now compared to the original writing that I had in the pen that I had it inked in last month. I did have it inked in a Kakuno, so I don't know if that would have made too much of a difference, but this one is definitely another chromo shader. And for some people it might be too light, but I have a thing for light inks right now, as long as they're legible, and this one definitely is. I like that one. Sailor Manyo Haha. Now these inks I haven't been able to put into a pen yet, as I have just recently received them, but I'll still show them to you anyways. The next is the one that a friend sent to me. This is Sailor 50 States, Alabama. Oh, now I'm thinking of Forrest Gump. Alabama, sir. Awful accent, my apologies. This is a really vibrant green. See, I came up with another adjective other than lovely. I used vibrant. So this is 50 States, Alabama. Kind of a darker forest green, but still very vibrant. Definitely different than all of the chromo shaders that I've shaded here recently. Then we have Sailor 50 States, North Dakota. And I haven't tried too many of the 50 States inks, but these ones are, this one is a lighter green. And I wasn't sure if I would like this at first, but I am excited to try this in a pen and see how well or how legible this actually is. Because in the writing sample, it's not too bad. 50 States, North Dakota. So we'll see. I'll ink it up in a pen and then see how I feel about it. So that's Sailor 50 States, North Dakota. Okay, so we have 6 inks left, and I just swatched these the other day, as I had just received them at my latest fountain pen meetup. So this is Sailor Ink Studio 224, and I have tried this before. It's this grayish purple, and it just shades like clouds. I know that Drew Brown had termed this in Sailor Ink Studio 132 as something, but I can't remember. But you can see the purple and the blue that's coming out there. I love that so much. That's Ink Studio 224. Next, Sailor Ink Studio 243. You know what? I just swatched these about a week ago, and now I cannot remember what all the colors are. I've had a long day at work. Oh, this is a blue. I forgot. And I don't normally go for blue inks, but I decided to give this one a try. And I think the reason I gave it a try is because it's a little bit more blurple rather than just blue. So this is Ink Studio 243. Look at that dry already. I had to take off my ring because I realized I got it stained. But anyway, the next ink is Sailor Ink Studio 252. So yeah, I had a little bit of a fiasco with Kitsune Biori. Spilled it all over my hand, over the paper, so I had to start the video again. But I currently have my ring in the ultrasonic cleaner. I love 252 so much. Look at that. It looks really light. I feel like it's lighter than I remember. And I've tried this ink before. Some of these I have tried before, and then it wasn't to my taste. So I decided to give it away or sell it. But like anything with my pens, tastes change, and I really like 252. Wow, that's stunning. Next, I have Ink Studio 450. So if you're not familiar with the numbers for Ink Studio, the last two numbers seem to denote a specific color type, and then the higher the number, the more saturated or darker it is. So if you remember, I swatched 150 earlier, so now 450 is also a purple, but a much darker, more saturated purple. Reminds me a little bit of Pilot Iroshizuku Murasaki Shikibu. So this is 450. Then we have Ink Studio 573. So remember, I swatched 273 earlier, and that was a nice pinky, dusty pink brown, beige. This one is a little bit more orangey coral of a color. Not something that I would normally go for, but now that I see it here, it also is like Teranishi Nostalgic Honey, but it's going to dry a little bit more coral than that golden brown. I really like it. I didn't think I would, but so this is Ink Studio 573. And don't worry, I will show you these once they're dried. And last but not least, we have Ink Studio 864. I took the cap off before I pressed record. I did at one point have Ink Studio 264, so imagine that was a lighter shade of this teal. Again, not a color that I thought I would go for, but I thought, why not give it a try? Go for something different, try something new, grow out of your comfort zone, you know, that type of thing. Ink Studio 864. Lovely. So I'm just going to wait a bit for all of these to dry, then show you. So there are the inks now dried, and can you see the transformation that some of these had? Sailor Ink Studio 273, you can really see some of the beige and brown happening there. In the writing sample, it's just a lovely, lovely pink. Then you have Sailor Ink Studio 280. You can see there's some coral happening in here too, and you can even see it in the writing sample. It's such an unexpected ink. Sailor Yuremeko Kitsune Biori. Fun ink. It goes down this kind of grayish brown. This looks almost purple to me, but I just love that shade. Originally, when I first got it, I thought it was a little boring, but I have grown to love this so much. Sailor Shikiori Hara Hara, a beautiful purple with hints of pink in there. You can kind of see it as well in the writing sample. Then you have Sailor Manyo Shirakashi. I really like this green, and it does have a little bit of sheen happening around it, but not too much that it gives me a headache. Sailor Manyo Kuri. If you haven't tried this one, I highly recommend that you do, because when it went down, it was kind of a really light beige, and then it's dried to this pinky purple, and you can even see that in the writing sample. If you haven't tried this yet, highly recommend that you do. And Sailor Shikiori Yozakura, a lovely pinky purple. I have like a couple of drops of this left. And Sailor Manyo Fuji, the blue purple chromo shading in here, so vibrant. And Sailor Ink Studio 150, you can see some pink happening in that purple as well. Really, really lovely. Then Sailor Manyo Azuki. It's another nice soft pink, different from Yozakura, which is right above it. Yozakura looks a little bit more purple, whereas Manyo Azuki is definitely a bit more pink. And then Sailor Manyo Ayame. Look, did it dry purple? Did it dry green? What color is it? I love that so, so much. Sailor Manyo Haha, a little bit more blue in the swatch than I thought it would have. I thought it would have a little bit more purple, but still a really fun ink to write with. Then Sailor 50 States Alabama, probably one of the more darker, less chromo shading inks in here, but it's a nice foresty green teal color. Then Sailor 50 States North Dakota, a lighter ink, not one that I would normally go for, but definitely interesting enough for me to want to ink it up in a pen at least once. Sailor Ink Studio 224, I think, is one of those inks that I tried many years ago. And for some reason, I decided to give it away or to sell it. I'm not sure, but I really like it. The purple, and then when you do have those areas, especially in a Zentangle, where you have the pooling of the ink, that shading is going to show off a little bit, that green in there. Sailor Ink Studio 243 went down a darker blue, but dried to this really pretty blurple. Sailor Ink Studio 252 I had to do again because I don't think I did the swatch properly, but it is drying to a lovely purple that kind of reminds me of, you know, Yozakura and Hara Hara together. Then Sailor Ink Studio 450, a very dark purple, reminds me of Pilot Iroshizuku Murasaki Shikibu. Lovely, vibrant. I'm using vibrant a lot now because it's another word in my vocabulary for the adjectives. Sailor Ink Studio 573, a more coral version of, it's a more saturated coral version of Sailor Ink Studio 273. This is lighter, more beige, more pink. And then you have Sailor Ink Studio 573, which is definitely more brown coral. It went down looking like Taranishi Nostalgic Honey, but has dried to a more coral pinky color. Then Sailor Ink Studio 864 hasn't dried completely, but you can tell it is a darker teal with a little bit of sheen. So those are all the Sailor inks that I currently own, all 20 of them. And the thing with Sailor inks is that there are so many coming out every year, and some are so completely different. I'm trying to think of which two actually look very similar on this page, and I really can't see too many that look too similar. Or maybe it's just because I have similar tastes. I don't know. But what are your favorite Sailor inks in your collection? Or what are the ones that you like from here? Let me know down below. All right, that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you can actually get samples of these from PenChalet, bottles of these from PenChalet or Atlas, as well as Goldspot and even Endless Pens. And I have affiliate links for all of those down below. Thanks again and have yourselves a great day.